The invitation rested on my scratched kitchen counter, its elegant ivory card and raised lettering a stark contrast to the faded chipped laminate. Nathan Carter and Grace Miller request your presence. It felt less like a request and more like a summons, a command I couldn't refuse. The engagement dinner. My younger brother, Nathan, the family's shining star, was tying the knot. And I, Michael Carter, the 32-year-old family letdown, was expected to show up and play my part. A familiar pressure squeezed my chest like rusty wire coiling tighter. 10 years. A decade since I'd walked away from medical school, yet the sting of defeat clung to me like damp cloth. I could still smell the sharp, heavy scent of formaldehyde from the anatomy lab, once a symbol of scholarly ambition, now a reminder of my own choking failure. I recall facing my father, Richard, in his oak-lined office. The words, "I can't keep going," burned like cinders on my tongue. His response wasn't loud or fiery as I'd braced for. Instead, a cold, heavy quiet settled, thick as a stone slab. Weeks of silence followed, broken only by clipped remarks about how I'd thrown away a golden chance and disrespected their sacrifices. His study, usually rich with the aroma of old leather books and a faint whiff of triumph, became a judge's chamber, my punishment a lifelong label of underperformer. My mother, Susan, put on a show of tears. I'd overhear her on the phone with her sisters, her hushed voice echoing through the house's thin walls, grieving how adrift I was, how I was just wandering. Her favorite line, paired with a theatrical hand to her heart, was, "Oh, Michael, we're so concerned for your path." A deep sigh always followed, draining the air from the room, painting my future as a desolate, empty wasteland of her own design. She never once asked what I hoped to achieve. She only mourned the destiny they'd mapped out for me. While I floundered, Nathan soared. A stellar business degree paved his way to a lucrative finance job in the city. A sleek condo with views that shouted, "I've arrived." Family gatherings, when I could stomach them, turned into stages for Nathan's latest victory. One Christmas stands out sharply. The fragrance of pine and baked turkey, usually comforting, felt stifling. Dad gifted Nathan an extravagant watch, slapping his back with a booming, "That's my son, carving his legacy, lighting the world ablaze." I'd tried to pitch a basic idea for a tech project to help locals find community services. Dad offered a polite, brushing nod. "Good to stay occupied, Michael," he said. The implication hung thick, busy with pastimes, not a real career. Nathan, meanwhile, tossed me backhanded tips, masked as sibling concern for my focus and direction. His own path was so firmly set on the express lane, he couldn't imagine a different route. The years after med school blurred into cheap rentals, reeking of ramen and lonely silence. Part-time gigs paid the bills but gnawed at my spirit. Nights brought a relentless question. Were they right? Was I a flop? Their disapproval felt like a tangible load, a cloak I couldn't shed. The idea for Access Path didn't hit like a bolt of brilliance. It grew slowly, kindled by a stint at a disability support center. I saw people wrestling with endless red tape, battling for basic medical info, specialist access, and a shred of respect. I started small, a side gig fueled by dark coffee and a stubborn belief things could improve. I learned to code better, built a simple, shared list of local health providers. The work consumed me, done alone in my cramped apartment. My screen's glow was my sole companion through countless late nights, the hum of my old PC a steady comfort. Then came the first email. "Your tool helped me find a doctor who gets my condition. Thank you, a glow, a warmth in my chest, a purpose so potent it briefly drowned out years of family dismissal." I met David Chun at a tech gathering, amid a speaker's hum and the smell of lukewarm pizza. He coded circles around me. More crucially, he saw Access Path's potential when my family wouldn't. He believed in the vision. We became partners, co-founders. Our first office was a tight space above a loud print shop, tiny, packed, and always tinged with ink and David's bold coffee. But it buzzed with excitement and possibility. It was our haven. Access Path grew quietly, steadily. 10,000 users, 50,000, our first small grant. We signed our first nonprofit clients, then spread across states. Each step was a quiet win, a defiance of the tale my family spun about me. I tried to share my progress. I recall excitedly telling Mom about a pilot program we'd launched in a nearby state, set to aid thousands. She listened with that distracted air, eyes glazing. "That's sweet, dear," she said, her focus shifting. "Did you hear Nathan landed a big promotion? He's planning a fancy dinner to celebrate, maybe a yacht trip?" The letdown hit hard, a cold grip in my stomach. Always back to Nathan. Now, Nathan's engagement dinner loomed. When he posted a photo of Grace, her hand outstretched, the diamond gleaming boldly, The family chat exploded with cheers and heart emojis. I typed a curt "congrats" and muted it. Their glowing world felt distant from mine. Dread for this dinner coiled tight, a knot weeks in the making. I knew the routine. I'd be the living before to Nathan's after. Dad would drop subtle jabs about my lack of progress. Mom's worried looks and sighs would echo him. Nathan, ever kind, would offer the pity only a thriving younger brother could muster. But as I faced my closet that night, a small spark of defiance flickered, tired of their script. Before muting my phone, I checked Access Path stats. 80,000 active users, real lives eased by my work. A faint, rare grin curved my lips. I skipped the dull, safe suit Mom always nudged me toward, the one that felt like a shroud for my own burial, and chose a sharp charcoal gray one I'd bought with a modest bonus after a tough but rewarding deal. It fit well. It felt strong. A quiet act of resistance, but it was like a gulp of air before the gilded trap. Latoy's name and star radiated the extravagance my parents adored. Handing my keys to the valet, I caught whiffs of rich perfume and pricier dishes drifting from the grand entrance. Inside, the restaurant hummed with clinking glass, soft chatter, and the gentle scrape of forks on fine china. The kind of place where the host sized up your worth. My collar, fine moments ago, now choked me. I spotted them instantly, posed at a central round table, a display of practiced joy for all to see. My father, Richard, commanded the scene, his deep voice rolling as he likely boasted of his financial wins to Grace's parents. My mother, Susan, hovered over Grace like a nervous bird, fussing over a perfect curl. And Nathan, my little brother, looked like a king in waiting, clad in a suit worth more than my first car, a sharp, almost smug grin on his face, his signature look of quiet superiority. "Michael, glad you're here," Dad said, his tone brisk, eyes already scanning for someone worthier. The silent tag, "Don't shame us," lingered. Mom wrapped me in a quick, tight hug, scented with her usual lilac fragrance, a smell I now tied to tense family nights. "Oh, Michael, you look tidy," she said, her gaze sweeping my suit with a look I couldn't read. Shock? Relief I wasn't in rags? "Grace, dear, this is our Michael." Grace Miller turned, hand out, her smile genuine, grip firm, hazel eyes warm and steady. "So great to meet you, Michael," she said. For a brief second, the dread eased. She seemed real, solid, a break from the stiff, strained vibe of Carter family events. I managed a shy smile. "You too, Grace. Congrats to you both." The talk, or rather my parents' monologue, zeroed in on Nathan, his latest coup at the firm, his fast climb to vice president so young. Grace came from a fine, wealthy line. Each word built another brick in the wall between me and their dazzling realm. Nathan's golden status got another polish. When Grace's dad, a warm man named Arthur, kindly asked what I did, Dad cut in before I could finish. "Michael's our dreamer," he said with a loud chuckle that didn't warm his eyes. "Still chasing whims, right, son?" He grinned at Arthur like it was a shared jest, making me the butt. Heat crept up my neck. "I run a tech firm," I muttered, my words feeling small, brittle against their grand claims. Mom, always quick to steer from tricky topics, namely me, jumped in. "Oh, but Nathan's new role, Arthur. He oversees millions in assets. He tries to tell us, but it's so complex and vital, isn't it, dear?" She beamed at Nathan, shooting me a glance that said, "See, Michael, this is real achievement." Nathan leaned back, ever ready to flex his edge. "Yeah, the market's wild. A tough game, but we're handling it. Big duties, you know? Not everyone's built for that stress." Stress. I nearly laughed. I thought of David's late nights when our main server crashed during a key update for a state health client. Thousands of users counting on us. The weight of payroll in those early days. The constant fear of letting our small team down. But I stayed quiet, eyes on the ornate bread plate, the taste of the fancy food dulling in my mouth. My silence at the table's edge was a gulf. My part in the family tale was best left unspoken. Yet Grace, amid my family's chatter, seemed curious. In a pause, as Dad droned about his golf score, she asked, "A tech firm, Michael? What's the platform about?" "It helps people with disabilities find health care and support," I said softly. Before Grace could reply, Dad waved a hand. "Very specialized, of course. A nice hobby for Michael. Keeps him busy. We're still hoping for something solid. A real career, you know." Grace's brow creased briefly at Dad's cut-in. She looked at me, puzzled, opening her mouth to ask more. But Mom, sensing a shift, launched into a loud tale of Nathan's cute childhood fear of clowns, blocking any dive into my hobby. A sour memory hit. Dad on the phone months back, his voice drifting from his study. I hadn't meant to listen, but bits slipped out. No, Michael's still messing with that little site of his. A good cause, sure, but not exactly shaking the world, you know. Not like Nathan, he's climbing fast. My father hadn't just brushed me off to my face. He'd peddled my failure to his friends, locking me in as the family's resident washout. The words left a sharp, bitter taste, like old metal. Toasts began. Grace's dad gave a kind, heartfelt speech welcoming Nathan. Then Dad stood, glass raised, voice thick with staged pride as he praised Nathan's feats. "A son who's never caused us a second's doubt," he said, eyes sweeping the room, "surpassing every hope we held. A true winner, a model of grit and drive." Then the sly turn. He glanced my way, face softening into fake, pitying warmth. "Of course," he said softer. "Life's not a clear road for all. Some wander, some follow a quieter tune. We keep supporting Michael naturally to find his place, his own kind of mark. The words, dressed as kind, were a public stamp. Michael, the wanderer. Michael, the faint tune. Michael, still lost." I stared at the crisp white tablecloth, its fine weave rough under my fingers. Mom's soft, timed sniffle sounded beside me, her part in this play. The air brimmed with quiet verdicts, their combined letdown heavy. Grace watched me, a silent, searching look in her eyes. A wave of surrender rolled over me. A voice whispered deep inside, "Here we go again. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'll never break free." The quiet after Dad's toast rang loud, broken by timid clinks of glasses as people sipped. I kept my eyes on the tablecloth, stealing for the night's predictable sting. This was my place, my set role in the Carter story. The quiet, lackluster son, a living proof of wasted hope. My parents basked in Dad's speech, a portrait of pride. Nathan nodded with rehearsed modesty, a look that didn't reach his eyes. Grace studied me, brow knit in thought. Then she spoke, soft but clear, cutting through the restaurant's hum. "Access path," she said, hazel eyes locked on me. "You said it aids people with disabilities in healthcare?" I nodded, stunned she'd noted it amid the Nathan flood. "Yes, that's the heart of it. We simplify finding specialists, gather resources, link people to support, ease a tough process." Her eyes, already bright, seemed to glow. "And your name's Michael Carter?" she asked, leaning closer, voice dropping to a quiet, charged whisper, shifting the table's air. "Wait a second." Her breath hitched. "Are you the Michael Carter, CEO of Access Path?" A fork clanged on a plate across the table, loud in the sudden, deep quiet that gripped our group. I looked up, caught by the fire in her tone. Dad, mid-sip of wine, froze, glass hovering, eyes wide. Mom's painted smile vanished, her jaw slack, hand clutching her necklace. Nathan stared, mouth open, his smug edge replaced by raw, baffled shock. Grace's parents, quietly following Dad, turned to us, newly alert, sensing the odd shift. Grace's face shone with bright joy, unaware or just sensing the bomb she'd dropped on the Carters. "Oh my gosh, it's you!" she exclaimed, voice rising with thrill. "Access Path is amazing. My brother Mark lost movement in a crash 3 years ago. Your platform's been a godsend for him. His rehab doctors push it to all their patients." She turned to the table, voice alive with raw, bold passion, both startling and magnetic. "You can't imagine the change. Finding experts for his needs, syncing care across doctors, tackling insurance chaos. It wore us out. Access Path cut through so much. Mark found an adaptive sports group via your links. He says it restored his life, a circle he thought was gone." She gushed about features, the tailored list of clinics Dad called niche, the trusted peer forums where Mark found help, the telehealth options sparing him hard trips. She'd read a piece months back about the quiet, clever CEO, this game-changing tool, never dreaming it was her future brother-in-law, the family's so-called drifter. "Our hospital board's been pushing to team up with Access Path," she said, gazing at me in awe. "Your impact's incredible." A rush of warmth hit me, then a strange, dizzy lightness, like the ground tilted. It felt like peering into someone else's life, one where I wasn't a constant letdown. Dad's face, usually bold and ruddy, turned pale and splotchy. Mom's lips trembled, eyes wet, flicking between me and Grace. Nathan gaped, his confidence gone, swapped for confused, almost mad disbelief. My family's silence screamed, a void where their usual claims should have been. Then, in her honest, unfiltered zeal, Grace landed the final twist, upending the crafted tale of my flaws. "It's odd, really," she said, a small frown forming as a memory stirred. "Mark heard some folks, big names he thought, talking down the Access Path founder at a charity event with his rehab crew last year. Someone named Henderson, he said. They raved about their finance star son, and when asked about their other, they chuckled, said he was tinkering on some small site for the disabled. Noble, sure, but a pity he didn't chase a true career like his brother. She paused, eyes moving from Dad's ashen face to Mom's trembling one. A dawning shock crossed her. They named the family Carter. Her eyes widened in panic. Oh, no, she whispered, hand to mouth. I didn't know. Henderson. I'm so sorry. The name hit like a fist. Arthur Henderson, Dad's golf buddy, his sometime confidant. A half-heard call from months back clicked into place. My parents' blindness wasn't just a miss. It was a deliberate public put-down. They had a story. Nathan the winner, Michael the well-meaning dabbler. They'd sold it to anyone listening, likely to dodge the shame of a son who didn't match their tight view of success. Some small sight. That bit cut deep, a fresh, sharp wound. Richard Carter, my steady father, looked struck. His face flushed red, then faded pale. Susan gave a short, raw gasp. Real pain now, not her usual staged sigh. We didn't grasp the size, Michael, she murmured, voice quaking. We thought it was minor. Her words faded, lost in the ruin of her careful illusions. The quiet at the table was dense, choking. Grace's parents looked lost, glancing between her, me, and my stunned family, clearly baffled by this family collapse. All eyes landed on me, a surge of energy and a roar in my ears. Yet beneath, a deep, odd calm bloomed. Years of buried hurt, feeling unseen, battling their heavy scorn, began to lift, like a fog clearing. I looked at Dad, then Mom, then Nathan. When I spoke, my voice was low, steady. No gloating, no blame. Just tired, plain truth. Access Path has over 80,000 active users across 15 states, I said, my gaze firm. We work with 3 state health programs and have a long list of national nonprofits eager to join us. Last quarter, we closed our Series A funding, led by a top healthcare venture fund. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. I laid out the facts. Facts that always were, whether my family saw them or not. The balance in that lavish, tight room shifted, forever changed. My father couldn't speak. He couldn't speak.